Hi, so I thought today we'd have a little bit of fun. I've got a whole pile of some 5-inch squares, along with all my other squares and things that I have, and I know that quite a few other people have some 5-inch squares. So I've got a lot of novelty ones, so I thought I'd make something that was kind of a child's quilt, but you wouldn't have to. You could have some very delicious other fabrics that you liked, some softer colours, all sorts of things that can be used instead of what I'm doing here. However, I've got my 5-inch square, and then I've just put a sash strip on two sides of it. So when I'm making a quilt that has sashing between blocks and things, I add my sashings like this so that it's a sort of a unit that goes across, and then you've only got to do the sort of top edge and the other side of the quilt rather than every block and long strips between and all those sorts of things. So when you play around with these, and if you make your blocks all like this, you can move them around. So here I've joined 4 together into a larger block, but it's just this unit that turned that way and then turned that way and repeated around. And so you can see I've just set them here. I might have just wanted to make a sash quilt, in which case they'll all be turned around like that, and you could have a different sort of look. So it's quite a good little thing to have a little play with. You might want this sort of slightly staggered effect that you get, or you might want something just a little bit more straightforward. You might want soft colours, you might want bright colours. So what I've got is a 5-inch square and some 2-inch strips. So I'll go ahead and I'll make a couple of these, and we can have a little bit more of a play with how to put them together. I would suggest that you have fabrics, particularly if you want to do this sort of arrangement, that don't really matter too much about the direction that the design on the fabric goes, because if you've got a one-way design, you're going to have a little bit more trouble when you turn them around, because they might be going the wrong way, which is not always such a helpful thing. So I've got a 5-inch length here, and I'm just going to sew that down the side of my square here. I always like it when you have options when you make quilt blocks. My white fabric has a little tiny white dot on it, which is very hard to see, but I know it's there. So I like to pop the sides on. You could chain piece them all through like this. This would be quite a fast quilt if you're looking to make something a little bit quicker. And you can use some of those very delicious fabrics, because if you're cutting your own squares, then the 5-inch squares are really easy and nice to use. So now I'm pressing that seam into the square because I didn't want it to go into my white sashing. And of course you don't have to have white sashing, it can be anything you like. So I've got it on one side now, and now I just need to put it across the other edge there. So we're just going to put one on this side, and we're just going to put one on this side. And back to the sewing machine. So you can see these don't take very long to prepare. And what you end up with is these units will be measuring 6.5 inches, so they'll be 6 inches finished. So if you go ahead and put 4 together like I have, you'll have a 12-inch block. And back to the iron again. And again, I'm going to press that seam into the coloured square. So that didn't take very long, and so you could make a whole pile of those if you've got a whole pile of squares, or if you've come to cut a whole pile of squares. And because you can play with them. And so by turning them, so if you're going to make the block like I've made up here, you would put two so that the coloured fabric is touching at the centre there, and the other two you're going to turn around so that the white is coming into the middle there. And basically you can make that block and then just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, or you could make them into rows. All sorts of things that you can do. And doing it this way, there's no seams to match other than where the units match up for those centre lines and things, so it's quite achievable without having to go to too much trouble. If you're looking for that quicker project, if you're looking for something novelty that's a little bit like an I Spy type quilt, or if you're looking for something that's soft and pretty with some nice pastel colours, you could do it that way. Really, you could just about do anything you like. So I just thought I'd show you what you can do with a square with 2 bits of sashing on it, and how fun is that?